I'm about to say something that's going to upset both the Pilates people and the gym people. You ready? Pilates is fantastic. It's just not strength training. Somehow we've turned Pilates versus strength training into one of the biggest debates in fitness. Everywhere you look, people are asking, can Pilates replace lifting weights? Do I even need to strength train? Is Pilates enough? And honestly, I think we're asking the wrong question. Here's why. Pilates is having a huge moment right now. And for good reason. More people are moving, more people are exercising consistently, more people are finding a form of movement that they genuinely enjoy, and I love it. I think that's great. But somewhere along the way, the conversation shifted. Instead of asking, what is Pilates good for? People started asking whether it could replace strength training. And that's where I think we've gotten ourselves into trouble, because those two forms of exercises aren't trying to accomplish the same thing. It's like asking whether a screwdriver is better than a hammer. They're both valuable. They're both effective, but they're designed to do completely different jobs. And until we understand what job each one is actually designed to do, we're gonna keep having the wrong debate. So before we decide whether Pilates can replace strength training, let's first define what each one is actually trying to accomplish. Let's start with strength training. What is its job? Because despite the name, strength training isn't simply about lifting weights. It's about creating adaptation. Its job is to make your muscles capable of producing more force over time. But before we go any further, let's define what strength actually is. Because I think this is where a lot of the confusion starts. Strength isn't how hard a workout feels. It isn't how sweaty you get. It isn't whether your muscles are shaking. It isn't the burn. And it isn't simply whether you're moving against resistance. Strength is your body's ability to produce force. Think about lifting a heavy suitcase into the overhead compartment, picking up your child, standing up with a heavy box, carrying groceries up 3 flights of stairs, catching yourself if you trip, pushing a heavy piece of furniture across the room. Every one of those tasks requires your muscles to generate force. That's what strength is. So the job of strength training is to improve your body's ability to produce more force than it could before. If today you can squat 100 pounds, maybe 6 months from now you can squat 140. If today you can do 5 push-ups, maybe later you can do 15. If today you can deadlift 200 pounds, maybe next year you can deadlift 250. My ability to produce force has increased. And the way we get there is something called, you know this, progressive overload, which for those of you where that's new, it simply means that over time, you continue asking your muscles to do a little bit more than they were capable of today. Maybe that's more weight, maybe that's more reps, maybe it's a harder variation, maybe it's a greater range of motion. There's many ways you can progress it. The specifics can change, the principle doesn't. Your body only adapts when it's given a reason to adapt. That's why it's good to go to failure. Once something becomes easy, your body becomes incredibly efficient at doing it. Survival. And if the demand never increases, neither does your strength. That's why I don't define strength training by the equipment you're using. I define it by the adaptation you're trying to create. You can strength train with barbells, with dumbbells, with machines, with resistance bands, even with your own body weight. Those are just tools. The real question is this: are you using that tool to progressively increase your body's ability to produce more force over time? Because that's the job of strength training. Now I know some of you are already thinking, yeah, but Pilates has resistance. Okay, you're right, it does. And that's exactly where this conversation starts to get confusing. So let's talk about what the job of Pilates actually is. So if that's the job of strength training, what's the job of Pilates? Because this is where I think Pilates deserves a lot more credit than people actually give it. Pilates isn't trying to maximize how much force your muscles can produce. It's just not. That's not the goal. It's trying to improve how your body moves. It focuses on control, coordination, precision, stability, balance, body awareness, breathing, and especially your ability to control your body through movement. Think about it this way. Strength training asks, can you produce more force than you could before? Pilates asks, can you produce that force with more control? Those two are completely different questions. They both matter. If you've ever taken a Pilates class, you've probably noticed it isn't just about getting from point A to point B, it's about how you get there, how you're breathing, where your ribs are, whether your pelvis is staying stable, whether one side of your body is compensating for the other, whether you can maintain control through the entire movement instead of simply completing the rep. That's why so many people leave Pilates saying, I discovered muscles I didn't even know I had. Not because Pilates magically found new muscles, because it teaches you to notice and control muscles that you've probably been compensating around for years. And that's an incredibly valuable skill. Better body awareness, better movement quality, better control, better coordination, better stability. Those are all fantastic adaptations. And honestly, I think almost everyone could benefit from having more of them. But notice something. None of those are the same adaptation we talked about in the last section. The primary job of Pilates isn't to maximize your strength. It's to improve the quality of your movement. And that's exactly why I don't think Pilates and strength training are competitors. They're complements. They're simply trying to make your body better in different ways. So where does all the confusion come from? It comes from one word: resistance. So now if you've been sitting there thinking, yeah, but Hannah, Pilates has resistance. You're absolutely right. It does. The reformer has springs. Your body weight is resistance. Resistance bands are resistance. Dumbbells are resistance. Barbells are resistance. You see what I'm saying? So Pilates uses resistance. Why am I saying it isn't strength training? Because resistance and strength training are not the same thing. And I think that's the distinction almost everyone misses. Resistance is simply the challenge you're working against. Strength training is a method of using resistance to create a very specific adaptation, the ability to produce more force over time. Those aren't the same thing. Okay, think about it this way. Walking is resistance. Going upstairs is resistance. Carrying groceries is resistance. Holding a plank is resistance. Gravity is resistance. None of those automatically become strength training simply because you're working against something. The question isn't, is there resistance? The question is, how is that resistance being used? Is it being used to progressively challenge your muscles to produce more force over time? Or is it being used to improve coordination, control, stability, precision, body awareness, etc.? Those are different goals. Now, can a Pilates class make you stronger? Absolutely. Especially if you're new to exercise. Almost any new physical challenge will make a beginner stronger. But that's different from saying the primary purpose of Pilates is to maximize strength adaptations over time. Those are two very different claims. So when someone says Pilates is strength training because it has resistance, I would say that's like saying every vehicle is a race car because they have engines. The tool isn't what defines it. The adaptation is. And once you understand that, the whole debate starts to make a lot more sense. I think this is also where social media has, unintentionally or intentionally, confused a lot of people. Because we constantly see videos of people saying, this is my Pilates body, or I stopped lifting and now I just do Pilates. And after seeing enough of those videos, it's easy to start believing that Pilates is the reason they look the way they look. But here's the problem. A physique doesn't tell you what created it. When you look at someone's body, you can't see their training history. You can't see the years spent lifting weights before they ever stepped into a Pilates studio. You can't see their nutrition, their genetics, their daily activity, their stress levels, their sleep, their hormones, or even what their workouts actually look like outside of the 1-minute clip you're watching online. Our brains naturally want simple cause and effect stories. She does Pilates, therefore Pilates created her body. But fitness almost never works that way. Your body is the result of thousands of decisions repeated over years, not one workout or one method. And this is why I always encourage people to separate the outcome from the mechanism. Don't ask, what body does this person have? Ask, what adaptation is this method actually designed to create? Because those are two different questions. Once you start thinking that way, it becomes much harder for marketing to fool you. And honestly, that's a skill that applies far beyond Pilates. So after all this, which one should you actually do? My answer is probably going to frustrate some of you. It depends on what job you're hiring your workout to do. If your goal is better body awareness, better movement quality, better coordination, better control, better stability, Pilates is an incredible tool. If your goal is to maximize strength, build muscle, improve bone density, maintain muscles as you age, increasing your ability to produce force, strength training is the better tool. And here's the thing, those goals aren't competing with each other. They're complementary. In fact, one of the reasons I like Pilates is because many of the qualities it develops, things like body awareness, control, stability, breathing, and coordination, can actually make you a much better lifter. If you've ever watched someone squat with no control, or deadlift entirely through their lower back, or struggle to keep their ribs and pelvis organized, you know exactly what I mean. Strength without control is not the goal. And control without enough strength has its limitations. Best training programs aren't built around one method. They're built around the adaptations you're trying to create. So stop asking, is Pilates better or strength training better? That's the wrong question. Instead, ask yourself, what is the job of the workout? Because once you understand the adaptations it's designed to create, you can decide whether it actually matches your goal. That's how you stop chasing trends. That's how you stop getting pulled in 100 different directions that keeps changing every season, every time social media finds a new favorite workout. And that's how you start thinking like your own coach. Because at the end of the day, that's the skill that's going to serve you long after the Pilates debate is over. So drop a comment below. Are you doing one or the other? Are you doing both? Which is your favorite? I'll see you in the next one.